You remember when they said Russia bombed Poland, but it turned out Ukraine did it, and a bunch of people lied about that Russia did it, and the AP, the Associated Press, still protecting their source that lied about who bombed Poland. So that's weird. On Tuesday, the Associated Press reported that a senior U.S. intelligence official says Russian missiles crossed into the NATO member Poland, killing 2 people. Well, who is that guy? So maybe he spoke to them on the condition of anonymity. But if you're only supposed to keep them anonymous if they're telling you the truth. If you find out they lied to you, a government official lied to you, you're supposed to expose that person. The story ripped through big media outlets, which blared breaking news. There it is. Here it is. Breaking news. Look at this. Russia missiles killed 2 people in Poland. There it is. That was a lie. It tore through Twitter. Breaking. A senior U.S. intelligence official says Russian missiles crossed into NATO member Poland, killing 2 people. A Polish government spokesman did not immediately confirm it. So who is this person? A senior U.S. intelligence official. Who is that person who lied? The story featured a host of bylaws. So that story that was written by the AP had all these people that had to write it. John Lasiter, James Laporta, Vanessa Guerra, Zeke Miller, and Michael Balsamo. He makes a great vinegar.
I like when it takes like 6 people to write the article, so you know it's extra reliable.
Yeah. One version featured the headline, AP source, Russian missiles cross into Poland during strike. There it is. One story AP ran was not bylined. And just one sentence, a senior U.S. intelligence official says Russian missiles crossed into NATO member Poland, killing 2 people. This violated the AP's already minimal rules. Stories that use anonymous sources must carry a reporter's byline, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. So they're breaking their own rules to do pro-war propaganda at the AP. AP rules say reporters can only grant anonymity to a source if the source is reliable. But if they prove themselves to not be reliable, shouldn't the anonymity be rescinded? Kyle Griffin, executive producer of both MSNBC's Ayman Mohidlan and Mehdi Hassan shows, ran with the worst form of the AP report to thousands of more retweets. So here he is. Here's the guy from MSNBC. We featured him. It's always in a bad way. He works for MSNBC and he's a propagandist. He gets paid by the war machine and Wall Street and Big Pharma. What the fuck you think Kyle Griffin's going to tell you?
Yeah, think of him as like some kind of E-channel chick that does PR, only way worse.
Way worse.
On every level.
Here he is. He tweeted it out. A senior U.S. intelligence official says Russian missiles crossed into NATO member Poland, killing 2 people. That got 21,000 likes. That was on November 16th. That got 21,000 likes.
What do they like about it?
By Tuesday evening, the Washington Post would use the frenzy to cue up an extreme distillation of the NATO charter. Poland is a member of NATO. A strike on that country could thus invoke NATO's Article 5, which states an armed attack against one or more of the members in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against all of the forces.
I think they got to hit up to 3 tractors, though, not just one.
Yeah. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky would claim, I have no doubt that it was not our rocket. So that's misinformation.
Hold the Oscar while you say it.
Hold the Oscar while you say it. But even as the AP was putting out their false stories Tuesday afternoon, others were pointing to evidence that Russia didn't fire the missiles that hit Poland. On Wednesday morning, I contacted the AP, asking a series of questions beyond the obvious. In particular, would the AP name the falsifying source? Nicole Mirror from the AP finally replied Wednesday evening, but didn't answer any of the questions. She simply pointed me to the correction Russia-Ukraine war story that had just issued. They had just issued. But a central question remains, why is the AP still protecting a source it now says fed it false information? Part of the bargain of anonymity is truthfulness. Why should a serious media outlet protect the anonymity of a source who just fed it false information? So they can do it again? There have been major precursors to this that ended in disaster. Judith Miller at the New York Times in 2020 cited anonymous Bush. So this is funny. So Dick Cheney would feed bogus information to Judith Miller Judith Miller worked at the New York Times, and for some reason, she was given incredible leeway on what to print on the front page.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because
Why do
she
you
took the
think
fall
that
for it?
is? That is because the New York Times is in bed with the government. That's why. And so when Dick Cheney fed her that bullshit story, they wanted her to have free reign to print it. And so they could then say, well, it wasn't us, it was her. So Dick Cheney would tell Judith Miller, hey, we have intelligence that says that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction or aluminum tubes they're going to build stuff with. And then she would print it in the New York Times on the front page as a fact. And then Dick Cheney would go on Meet the Press and say, look, the New York Times is reporting this thing about Iraq. Do you see how that works? He plants a story in the New York Times. The New York Times prints it. Then he goes on TV and points to the New York Times as proof what he's saying is true. That's the game so that's the game they're playing. What do you want to say?
Another important thing from that, lest you think, because I know a bunch of people, New York Times, the DNC owns them. No, they do it for whoever's in.
That's right.
They're going to push the war thing. It don't matter Republican or
They're
Democrat.
going to push the war thing.
That was a Republican.
That's right. They were in bed with George Bush at the time. That was false and used to propel the case for war. When I confronted her in 2005 and asked her who the source was, she wouldn't say. In contrast, in 1996, the Wall Street Journal turned on a source orchestrating a smear campaign by Big Tobacco targeting whistleblower Jeffrey Wigand. The story was told in the film The Insider. So which world do we want? One where falsifying sources get away with lies so we get disastrous wars, or do we want a world where they don't get away with it so we get some measure of accountability for major wrongdoings? As it is, the AP seems intent on sweeping all this under the rug. The URL for the original series of stories now brings up the correction. So accessing the actual reporting may be difficult going forward. That's why I linked to it.
Well, okay, how major of a wrongdoing on a scale of Biden laptop down here all the way up to Trump University?
Ha! AP's designation on Twitter is official. If this isn't seriously addressed, it's hard to see why it should be deemed U.S. state, why it shouldn't be deemed U.S. state affiliated media, because it is.
And not only that, always put that there. And I also want to see the owner, the something owned AP, however owned, put their name like you do Elon Musk on Twitter for every single one.
We'll see you November 26th. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving in Burbank. And then all December, we're going to be in Los Angeles doing Friday night shows. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the tickets and become a premium member. While you're there, you get all of our videos unedited. jimmydore.com, not Jimmy Dore Comedy.